Welcome back to the Voluntary Tackle. Very exciting times on the show. We're just about to call the man of the moment, Mark Geyer. He said he's in his limo and we're allowed to call him between Penrith and Ingleburn.
Okay.
So we don't know where that is. I've GPS'd it, have no fucking idea. We're just going to call him
Let's
now.
try it now, see what happens.
Good evening.
Big MG, it's Eamon and Chip from the Voluntary Tackle, mate. How you going?
Hey, how are you, my friend?
Very well, mate. Look, obviously, first and foremost, mate, thanks so much for sparing some time to come on the show, for a couple of idiots who get behind the mic every week.
Speak for yourself, mate.
It's much appreciated.
Absolute pleasure, buddy. Who is Eamon and who?
Eamon and Chip, mate. This is Chip Jones.
Chip Jones, mate. Nice to chat with you.
Chip Chase, going Chippy.
Now, MG, obviously, we can't pay you any money for coming on the show, mate. We have a very limited budget, but I can offer you a signed Hunter Mariners jersey if that's very enticing.
Mate, I'll take it if it's not signed.
Oh, it's signed by Craig Camorley, so I don't know if that's going to work.
Well, yeah, what? I'll take it then. Yeah, I'll take it.
MG, just to kick everything off, obviously here on the Voluntary Tackle, our mantra is there's no such thing as an off-season because there's always news breaking in the world of the NRL. And recently we've discovered this idea, Freddie's plan, to introduce alternative New South Wales State of Origin jerseys, which struck us as a little bit odd. What's your take on that?
Well, you mentioned the word odd. That's exactly what you get with the New South Wales coach. He's a funky cat. I played with Freddie, played against Freddie, but mostly my memories are playing with him, and he does things differently, and that's the reason I think New South Wales won the State of Origin series this year. He picked a team unconventionally that were picked by basically by the fans and the fellow players in the team, and instead of going on reputations, he went on form, which is something we've been crying out for years. He made the players hand in their mobile phones. He made the players walk on grass barefoot. He done yoga. He done all things different. And I think if he wants to change the jersey up for the game in Perth, well, you let him do what he wants to do, because when you're on a good thing, you got to stick to it.
You're right, MG. You certainly can't argue with the results, but part of me just thinks, Brett Hodgson almost died for that jersey.
Well, he got thrown in the fourth row by the Raging Bull.
That's right.
Jersey, so, yeah, you're right in a certain degree, but yeah, it reminds me a bit of the Super League ARL jersey that I think the ARL wore around '97. It's a bit similar to that, so maybe Freddie's bringing back the Super League team, and he might know something we don't know.
Part of, I know Chip and I have had similar theories on this. We kind of feel as though Freddie could just be an absolute mental genius when it comes to just messing with the mind of the Maroons, and we're wondering if this is sort of part of that strategy. Do you think that he's just trying to get under the skin of the Maroons?
Well, if you're trying to get into Freddie's mind, good luck. You might be in there for a good couple of years. Look, he's unique, Freddie. He burst on the scene as a 17-year-old, played first grade, played a grand final at 18 in 1990, won a grand final at 20. All the records, he's the most capped New South Wales player of all time, and we joke about him, but there is no joking anymore. He's turned the corner as far as people thinking he's this aloof character who just delves into the other side, if you will. He just loves exploring other alternative notions, and I think all the scientific stuff that comes with the jersey probably tickled Freddie's fancy as well. It's got its own GPS. It's a robot as a jersey. So I know Tedesco had one of the tightest jerseys ever in Origin series this year, and that seemed to work. So if Freddie wants to get this jersey changed in any way, shape possible, well, he's the man to do it.
So, MG, g'day, mate. It's Chip Jones here. Look, thinking about getting into the mind of Freddie, do you think you've got to, beat the weeds back some to really understand what's going on in there?
I thought it was reference to an illegal substance.
No.
No. You've definitely got to put some ground zero on it, and try and, I think Freddie beats the sound of his own drum, which I love, which I think more people should do.
I agree with you, Mark. I totally agree, and I think that's why so many people love him. I can't help but think maybe, as you know, a bit of tit for tat. I'd love to see if the Maroons might follow suit and change their jersey, potentially to a bit of indigo with hints of warm lemon.
Love it. Love it. I'd buy one. I'd
So
buy one straight away.
Limited edition.
With Kilroy in the back of it. Joe Kilroy.
Limited.
Smoking Joe Kilroy.
On the topic of Origin MG, you know, there's obviously the games are going to be taken to Adelaide next year. Are you a fan of taking State of Origins on the road?
Look, I think as many people see Origin, the better it is for the game. I think it's, you know, a lot of people are traditionalists when it comes to its, you know, New South Wales and Queensland, and I get that. But I'm also about spreading the love as well, and I think that the fact that we're going to Adelaide and we're going to Perth the year after, I think that's a good thing. I think the more, you know, I've played in Perth, I've played in Adelaide, and I think that if the Super League concept was still thriving today, would be a fully national game. But at the moment, we're not really, and our logos at the NRL, which is National Rugby League, which is kind of a fib because we're not national.
Yeah, that's right.
We're Eastern Seaboard and we're New Zealand. So, look, I'd love to see the game flourish. I'd love to see us bring in new teams and just stick with them. Prop them up like the AFL have with GWS and the Gold Coast Suns, and stick with it. You know, you've got to have faith in the grassroots areas, and they're definitely grassroots areas, Perth and Adelaide. So, but they are they're massive in the fight against the AFL. So, I'm all for spreading the word, and I don't mind it being played there. Yeah.
I'm with you, Mark. I think that we should definitely, you know, try to expose the game across the country as much as we can. In fact, on the show, we ran a little bit of a dummy test. We thought we might do a bit of a Larry's Lottery, if you will, and we just put a whole bunch of venues into our hat. Pretty unluckily, we drew out Coonabarra Brand 3 times. So that might not be a great system, but not sure if you think a lottery might be a good thing or not. But look, we wanted to quickly touch on, Mark, I know you haven't got a lot of time, but Rugby League Lite, it's been called. The NRL's proposed a new way of making sure there's no exodus amongst young players. So they're kind of trying to lower the contact at the junior level. As a man who played the game as fiercely as anyone, how do you feel about sort of making the game a bit softer at the younger grades?
Well, there's a sport already for that, and that's called Oztag. If you want to play Oztag. If you want to play rugby league, you get tackled.
That's right.
And that's how the game was built. I was taught when I was 5 years of age, and tackle around the legs and tackle as hard as you can around the legs. Nothing above the shoulders, and that's the fabric of our game. You know, you might as well change the shape of the ball if you want to stop aggressive tackling. It's a no-brainer. Like I'm not talking as a dinosaur here. I'm talking as a dad who's had a daughter play rugby league. I'm a dad who's had both his sons play rugby league for over 15 years, and there's nothing more breathtaking when you see a great tackle in a rugby league game, and albeit aggressive or copybook. So to have the notion of not tackling hard in a rugby league game, I think it's honestly it's a jab, isn't it?
It's a bit weak.
Yeah.
We'll bring in weight for age and bring in if that's the case, bring in weight for age and make it you can tick a box whether you want to play weight for age or you want to play against blokes who your age but are bigger than you. It's try telling Jeff Tuvey and Alfie Langer that you can't tackle hard around the legs. They're two of the best defensive halfbacks that have ever played the game, and they're two of the smallest blokes ever played the game. So, what's next? 3 points for a field goal.
You're right. It feels like we're setting a bad precedent there, and I mean, look, I think there's almost a danger if you implemented a non-tackle version of the game. We'll probably be breeding too many Cody Nickaremus. So we want tougher guys in the game. But look, as you said, I think that the best solution there is probably weight divisions. Makes a whole lot of sense. But look, we'll probably just push on. We've actually wanted to quickly talk about Trent Barrett as well. Obviously the very awkward situation going on over at Manly where Des is there, Trent's still there, but no one really knows what his job is. What are your thoughts about that? How does Trent get out of this?
Trent's everywhere. Trent's, look, I think it's an uncomfortable situation that Manly are in, and I think Manly should do the right thing and pay him out and get on with life. I think Brisbane should do the same thing. I don't see you. Why would you want to coach at your club who has nothing to do really with your team going into the future? I feel for Trent Barrett. He wanted to pull the pin, and then all of a sudden he changed his mind because there wasn't enough deck chairs in the gym, and the gym wasn't up to scratch, and all of a sudden he wants to hang around. I suppose that's the legal advice he's been given. But we could look at it in a positive way. Now Manly got two coaches, so they're going to be equally as good. But the same with Penner in Brisbane. Why would you want to coaching your team who's coaching another club the following year with all eyes on that prize? I don't get it. I know players do it, and I don't like how players do it because it seems to be an epidemic of it at the moment, where players are playing for a club 12, 18 months out from playing for another club. It's just subconsciously there's anomalies like Blake Ferguson, who had a great year this year, and Angus Crichton, who had a great year. But as far as coaching go, I can't see you trying to control a roster at a club that you're going to another club the following year with you are on that roster. So, what, you want to make this roster stronger than the one you're going to? I don't think so.
So, you make a good point there, MG. And look, mate, maybe we can put our heads together because you're one of the greatest rugby league minds going around, and I've never had problem getting fired from any job I've ever had. So I reckon if we put our minds together, we can get Trent out of this. Now, I'm not saying we go for like a sexual harassment claim. I'm not saying he should glass someone. But surely there's a way that he can get out of this. Like, I reckon we could put our heads together. We get him out of that job in like 30 minutes.
There's no two ways about it. Mate, just do something illegal. That's Trent Barrett.
Basically, that's what we're saying.
Trent, if you want to get out of it, but then he won't get paid out. So he's caught between a rock and a hard place, old Baz. He wants his $500,000, and who wouldn't? But he's got to do it with dignity as well. So.
Yeah, I'm with you, MG. Look, I feel for Trent. I actually think he's a decent coach, and he's just caught, as you said, between a rock and a hard place. But I know in the press you've been a little bit critical of players and coaches breaking contracts. They don't seem to be worth the paper they're written on.
No.
The David Clemmer situation comes to mind. Should there be penalties involved, do you reckon, if players break contracts?
I think most definitely there's got to be some sort of penalty or deterrent for players and coaches to. Like what we've witnessed this year, as far as the coaching merry-go-round goes, we'll probably never see again, and that's good. But there should be the NRL should implement something to make sure we never see it again.
What are you thinking, MG? Do you think maybe if
heavy penalties?
Yeah, I agree. That potentially, I don't know, if a player's really serious about breaking a contract, maybe they should really have to show it and demonstrate it. Like with David Clemmer, for example, maybe they say you can go and play for the Knights, but you'll have to donate your left ear.
There you go. Both pinkies or something.
Maybe we could, take an analogy from horse racing and just put some weights on the side of them for 6 months. Slow them up a bit.
That's not bad. Like a handicap.
Yeah, exactly. Well, what if they had to do some kind of dare, MG? Like, I don't know, if you really want to go and play for another club, you'll have to dress up like a rabbi and run through an ISIS stronghold.
Probably increase your speed off the mark, I would think.
Yeah, if you really want it.
If you really want it, that's not going to end well. But I'll tell you what, if you're dedicated, well, there's some obviously, you've obviously had time to think about it. I like where you're going with it.
Thanks, mate.
I like the fact that you want these players to really show how much they want to change clubs, because at the moment, look, in all seriousness, I signed a contract in 1985 with Penrith when I was 17 years of age for $2,500.
Wow.
And I've got that in a safe at my house, and it's the only contract I've ever kept. We used to be scared to break contracts because there was ramifications. But these days, there doesn't seem to be, and I don't know why. I can't, in my current employment with Triple M, I can't just so I'm going over to another radio station without there being big ramifications or big penalties. And rugby league seems to be a rules to its own. The only loyal people in rugby league are the fans. And I say to fans, don't worry about following the players anymore. Just follow your team because
good point.
you don't know who's going to be there. You don't know who's going to be there in a month, let alone a year.
I agree with you, mate. I always love that idea of even having the salary cap concession for players who've been at the club for a while. Well, why hasn't that been implemented? Because I guess from a fan's point of view, we love to see one club players, right?
That's one of the best points that I've heard, and I agree 100% with it. If you've had more than 7 years or 8 years at one club, you should be salary cap exempt.
Would solve a lot of issues.
It's what it does. It creates loyalty in the game.
100%.
There's a bit of there's a carrot at the end of the dangled for you. It's we used to have testimonial years for players who had 10 years at a club, and that player would earn that year. The club would put a testimonial year on for them, and all the takings from the dinners and the promotional activities that were around that player, he'd keep as his superannuation. Obviously, players are paid a lot more now, and we weren't professional back then, but there should be some loyalty to players these days. Look, 7 years at one club for mine is in today's climate is a bloody good effort. So
Absolutely.
why not reward them players with some type of dispensation from the salary cap?
We've got to get it out there, MG. We've got a bit of a Kickstarter campaign or something. We won't take up too much more of your time, mate. I just had a couple of listener questions to the show, if you don't mind.
Go for it.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Look, this is from the biggest Tiger. He's wondering how long it will take Madge to work his magic at the West Tigers. Will it be less than 5 years or less than 2?
I think it'll be less than 5. I think about 3 years until we'll see the Tigers be a force to be reckoned with. I think Madge now being the international coach for the Kiwis, that opens up another corridor for players to basically want to go and play for him. So I'd say within under 5. I think with 3 years they might see some glory as far as maybe a prelim final or maybe even a grand final in 3 years' time.
So, Mado, there's another question here from Gavin, and he's asking, should Freddie be an immortal?
Yeah, look, as far as I think if Darren Lockyer becomes one, that Freddie should be one, definitely, because they're very similar players in a lot of ways. As far as their representation goes, I think there should be, look, in 10 years of rugby league, I think there should be more than the amount of immortals there is at the moment. That's Freddie calling me now, actually, on the phone, so there you go.
Priorities. You better take that, MG. We don't mind you.
He's saying yes, he should be. So,
Mate, jump him on the conference call, mate. We'll,
No worries, MG. Look, mate, we won't take up any more of your time, mate. But once again, a huge thank you for coming on the show. It's been awesome, and you're a legend of the game, mate. And keep it up.
Yeah, thank you, MG.
More rugby league podcasts and more rugby league shows. We need spreading the word like you boys. Keep up the great work. Freddie, go away, mate. Come on.
You're a champion. Thanks, mate.
Later, boys.
Thanks, MG.
Ciao.
Cheers.